Absolutely delighted to bring you this webinar in partnership with Amazon DSP, the second in the series. And so I'd really like to introduce you to Gemma Jones, Senior Business Development Manager at Amazon DSP. Gemma was commissioned into the Royal Navy in 2008 as a warfare officer. She served in several different ships, including HMS Brocklesby, and deployed as part of a NATO task force to Libya during the Arab Spring, as well as a deployment in HMS Pembroke to the Arabian Gulf. Gemma completed a 15-month Pashto language course and tour of Afghanistan as a cultural specialist. She left the Royal Navy after 11 years and joined Amazon as the military recruiter for UK operations before moving up to lead the EU military recruitment team. After 2 years of recruiting hundreds of service leavers and veterans into the Amazon world of logistics and operations, Gemma made the move into Amazon Logistics, working on programs impacting last mile logistics. So a big welcome, Gemma. Hi.
Thank you. Wow, that's a really nice intro. I like it. Yeah, thank you. So it makes me sound way more interesting than I really am in reality.
No, that's not true. I'm going to leave you to it, Gemma. Nice to see you there.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Super excited to be here at our second in this three-part series, working with every woman. Obviously, Seema has just given me a very nice introduction. I work on last mile projects within last mile logistics. One of them is the Delivery Service Partner Program, where we seek to find potential future business owners and entrepreneurs and help them start their own business in last mile logistics, which I'm going to mention in a moment is obviously a really big growth area, and something that isn't going away anytime soon, which I think we've all seen in evidence from the last couple of years, which led me to, which essentially in the course of my role within the Delivery Service Partner team and within Last Mile, led me to explore women in business, trying to find out what the blockers, the barriers might be, try to understand more about how we can bring more women onto the program, which eventually led me to Every Woman and the partnership that we have with them at the moment. I'm just going to move slide, I think, hopefully. Okay, there we go. Thank you. So when I was researching the barriers to female entrepreneurship, to women in business in the UK and across the EU, only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs is female, which is a gender gap equivalent of 1.1 million missing businesses. Closing the gender gap in the British entrepreneur space could generate as much as £250 billion for the economy, which I think we could all probably do with at the moment. And I've put this QR code at the bottom because this is where essentially I went to the Alison Rose review that was released in the last couple of years, which is really on the nose in terms of the barriers that women experience, that list them essentially as confidence and resilience, lack of mentorship or network. It turns out that men are more likely to have other businessmen in their network. Women are more likely to have friends and family. Lack of funding was another barrier. Family care and managing the house and the family and their other commitments was also a barrier. And so in exploring these barriers, what was important to me within our role in last mile logistics was to make sure that we were having these conversations. We may not be able to fix them all. We may not be able to do a blanket, I know how to fix these barriers and I'll go out and try and do it. But at least by having the conversations, by talking with people on this event, like with Pauline and with Seema, with Every Woman, with Uli, to try and keep those conversations ongoing, to try and learn from people who are inspirational in business and will hopefully help us close that gap. And just to touch very quickly on the logistics sector, which is obviously where I work. I never saw myself working in logistics, if I'm quite honest. But it's there's 2.54 million people work in haulage and logistics, but only 20% are female, and only 1% of truck drivers are female. We are missing a vast opportunity. Logistics is the backbone of absolutely everything we do in life. And we are missing a massive chunk of that by not getting involved, by potentially letting old stereotypes get in the way. And we know that we can add value as women, we absolutely can. PwC report states that companies with the most women board directors outperform those with the least by an incredible 16% in return on sales and 26% in return on invested capital. So we can bring home the bacon, as it were. Again, I mean, I know I'm repeating myself, but I feel like it's an important point that to have these conversations to hopefully try and move the needle even a little bit. If one person walks away from this event with a little bit of inspiration or an idea or some confidence or more knowledge around the subjects, then I think that's a win. It's like a surprise what's going to be next on the slide, isn't it? There we go. And just a last couple of points on logistics. It is a growth. I mean, I know I work in it and I work for Amazon. Obviously, we're quite a substantial company, but it is a growth sector all round, right? We have seen how society has shifted, how we, not just because of the pandemic, I think it was going that way anyway, how our needs have shifted, how the way we live has moved, how we depend more heavily on this particular sector, this particular subsection of logistics, this last mile delivery. It's expected to grow by 78% globally by 2030. And who doesn't want a piece of that pie? That's what I would say. And e-commerce will grow by 70% annually as well. So it's an incredible space to get involved in, which is why it's super exciting. Oh, I didn't mean to go forward. I meant to go back. 1 second. Clicked one too many times. There we go. Thank you. And 82% of all consumers have shopped online within a 3-month period. I know that I am certainly a member of that group. So I think basically what I'm trying to sum up here is that we need to get more involved in logistics, I think, generally in the UK as women. But we also want to talk about those barriers to business ownership as well. And the theme of today is looking at that sort of work-life balance, family care, time management, to see how we can become better at juggling everything we juggle in our lives to allow time for us to try and reach our goals. And the next slide, I think we have a short video clip, which I'm going to hopefully press play and it's going to work for everybody. Okay, hopefully that everybody's probably seen this before anyway, I think, hopefully. Thank you. Right, let's move on to the next slide. Interestingly, I'll tell a small anecdote from my time in the military. When I joined my last unit before I moved into the civilian sector, my manager, or my two-up actually, on my first week at work, he sat me down and he said, okay, Gemma, he said, get your diary. And in your diary, I want you to put all your annual leave that you want to take. I want you to put all of your children's plays and all of their children's activities or anything you've got going on with your kids into your diary. I want to put all of your adventurous training, any physical activities you want to do, any team sports you want to be part of, put that in your diary. Any social engagement you want to do, military or otherwise, put that in your diary. And then he said, and then figure out how you're going to just work around that with your actual day-to-day job. It was brilliant. In fact, in my 11 years in the Navy, nobody ever said that to me. Although we were always quite flexible, he was to the point that everything else goes in the diary first and you do your work around it. And I think very much reflects the JAR principle there. So he was a pretty great 2-up line manager. Right. And then I just wanted to share this slide, which I think goes in a little bit deeper into some of the topics. And I'm by no means an expert. I want to make that clear. These are just thoughts. These are just other people's thoughts to a large extent, to try and talk about these things in open forum. Okay, so if we talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people, this kind of made me smile when I was reading through all of these and sort of trying to think about things I could say in this forum. But if we start with the first one, be proactive. So there are proactive people and there are reactive people. I think I'm half and half. So the proactive is I will, I can, I'm going to do this. External factors don't impact me. I will just crack on and get stuff done. I am a product of my circumstance. I am not a product of my circumstance. I am a product of my decisions, which I love. I love the sort of positivity around it. But also I'm still the sort of person that gets a bit of a downer when it's raining, and I can be impacted by that. And, you know, and the kids, again, they're ready, and the stresses of everyday life really do sometimes impact me as well. But I like it as a philosophy. You know, it's very uplifting, that idea. The second habit, begin with the end in mind, is crucial. If we're aimlessly wandering through life, we're not going to achieve our goals. You've really got to set tangible, smart goals that are realistic, that you can achieve, whether it's a personal or work related, whatever it may be. You've got to have that in place, or you'll not achieve them in the long run. For me, for example, I can't believe I'm going to admit this to all of you and potentially hundreds of people that are going to watch this online, but I'm 40 next year, and I have in my head this goal to be, like, say, don't laugh, to be 40 and fabulous, to get back to my sort of 30s body shape, and, you know, make my clothes look nice, and do my nails, and just be a bit more of a fabulous version of myself. And so I have signed up for the Great South Run, which takes place in Portsmouth. I've got the local village challenge for 5K in May. I go to the gym. I'm in a cricket club. I'm literally doing all sorts of crazy things. But my targets are there. You know, I've got these targets set in the sort of personal life. And then the third one, put first things first. This kind of ties the first 2 together, and it's about prioritizing. And this is obviously that JAR comes in here. I think this is absolutely key. You've got to prioritize what's important. And I know that's really hard to do when we're working and we have targets and KPIs and managers and expectations. And I mean, I have a great deal of flexibility in my Amazon role to juggle my family and things I need to do. So I'm kind of hoping, I'm hoping I'm not the only one there, that other people, other employers, managers, business owners operate similar philosophies. And if they don't, hopefully conversations like this might sort of push them in that direction. But it is about putting the most important goals first, you know, what's got the most worth, and prioritizing. Number 4, think win-win. That's about collaboration, about seeing life as a cooperative arena and not competitive, and about, you know, working with stakeholders, other people in your network to come up with mutually beneficial solutions. I think that's really important. And then number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. I really like this one, and I had to sort of read through it quite closely to fully understand it, but it's all about communication. And one of the most important life skills that we learn, and what I'm trying to teach my kids at the moment, is reading, writing, and speaking clearly. But what we don't often develop very well is listening. Sometimes we listen, but with the intent to reply and not with the intent to understand. And I think it's really important that we try and shift that mentality and try to listen, understand, which will help tie all the other bits in together, the collaborative working and the collaborative approach to work, the putting first things first. All those things will become easier if we can listen and understand, as well as respond and make a contribution. Number 6, synergize. What a great word. Teamwork, open-mindedness. 2 heads are better than 1. You'll get a better result together. That's what that's all about, to help us with our becoming highly effective people. And this the last one, which is my ultimate favorite, sharpen the saw. That isn't figurative, it's obviously metaphorical. And we're talking here about looking after you as a person, looking after you physically, looking after your social and social and your emotional needs, looking after your mental needs, and looking after your spiritual needs. I'm not particularly spiritual, so for me, it's really the first three rather than the last one. But you can see from my additional recreational activities that I've got going on at the moment, I'm definitely trying to address them. And it's keeping you fresh so you can keep the rest of those 7 habits going. So that is, hopefully everybody's enjoyed that little overview of the 7 habits of highly effective people. And hopefully you can take on board some of those points. Touching very briefly on the quadrant, because probably Seema and Co are probably thinking that I'm running over time. I think everybody tries to sit in quadrant number 2. That's where we'd all like to be, for sure. But mostly I think I find myself in quadrant 1. I try my best to move into quadrant 2, but I often sit between quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. Interruptions, life gets in the way, short notice tasks come in, emergencies that you know they're urgent but they're important, but they take up all of our space, or they're urgent and they're not important but they still take up all of our time. Quadrant 2 is obviously the ultimate. You're winning it, you're doing it, you're doing a great job if you're in that quadrant. If anybody has any advice about how to stay in that quadrant, I'm all ears as well. I do try things. I block out time in my diary when I need to work on projects, work on documents. I try to prioritize some stuff with the kids. I don't work late as a standard. I think, you know, stuff can still be done tomorrow if it's not super urgent. So I do try those things, but often I think sometimes I find myself drifting back into 1 and 3. And I think just, I don't know if there's any specific questions around any of this. I mean, we are going to take questions at the end as well. But I think we're going to move on to the poll. And I will stop clicking now and let somebody else take over. So the poll should have popped up. If you can just for our interest to see what you guys think, if you can answer the poll, that'd be great.
Thank you so much, Gemma, for that great introduction. Love all the quadrants. I particularly love the sand jar pebbles, you know, analogy there. We're also going to be joined today by 2 fabulous entrepreneurs. Uli Zaneri, Business Director from Mage Transports. Welcome, Uli. Originally from Brazil with an Italian background, Uli started her journey in logistics about 20 years ago as a delivery driver in the UK. Over the years, she's progressed within the industry and has acted as head of operations across several different businesses. Today, she applies the skills she acquired over the years to her own business through our Amazon DSP program. Uli is also involved in several projects across Africa and South Africa. So welcome, Uli, lovely to see you here. And finally, last but not least, we welcome Pauline Patterson, co-founder of Dr. Pawpaw. Pauline is an award-winning entrepreneur and beauty expert with over 25 plus years of experience in the hair and beauty industry. Alongside her husband, Johnny, Pauline set off to launch her own brand, Dr. Pawpaw, back in 2013, a multi-purpose lip, skin and hair range that harnesses the power and benefits of the papaya fruit. Her brand has won multiple awards and is internationally available in over 35 countries. Today, Pauline manages production and MPD to ensure that Dr. Pawpaw is always improving and building on their core ethics, as well as leading in the industry. As well as leading the Dr. Pawpaw team as an expert champion appointed by the Department of Trade UK, Pauline now helps other brands build their own export business. So welcome, Uli and Pauline, and welcome back, Gemma.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, so nice to see you all, and thank you. So Gemma, let me come to you. You've come from a corporate background and a military background, and obviously You must juggle the demands of work and home life. Do you know what? I'm going to just, before I jump into that question,
Yeah.
Pauline, Uli, did you want to just say another few brief words? I know I've given you a bit of an intro, but if you would like to say a little bit more of a personalized intro, please do. Pauline, how about we come to you first?
Oh, okay. You've thrown me now, Seema. I was ready to go to Gemma. But yes, no, thank you for having me. And again, looking at Gemma's presentation, it is constantly a learning curve. How to juggle work-life balance. Having your own company, working for a team. So again, and I do think one of the biggest things is just not to be so hard on yourself. We are all humans at the end of the day. We do need to take time to be kind to ourselves as well. And again, my other biggest point is everything's a learning curve. So, I'm still learning. A lot of my team that are specialists are all still learning. And as long as we give each other that kind of, area to learn, then, we're all just growing together.
Absolutely brilliant. Yes. And Uli, did you have a short sort of intro into your life before we jump into the questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Gemma and Pauline there. I mean, the aim of the game is just to go for it and then do your best. And mistakes are going to happen. And we're going to put our lives behind it no matter what, just because it's nature. But the aim of the game is prioritize and make sure you're looked after and your business will be a success. I mean, mainly we need to be go-getters, and that's what we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gemma, you've come from that background of corporate and military. You're juggling the demands of work and home life. Tell us a little bit about your career journey and what has motivated to get you where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I've had a reasonably interesting journey. I started off, as you said, 11 years in the Royal Navy, mainly because when I joined, I didn't want an office job, like an office-based job. I wanted to travel the world. I love travel. And I didn't really consider what was going to happen in the future. But ultimately, after I had 2 children, my naval career, and it's not through any fault of the Navy, in reality, wasn't really sustainable with my husband that's also serving. So I had to look for a different option. But I was so worried about that because as much as maybe the military gets a bad shout in the press sometimes, it's actually really flexible for parents. It's really flexible. So I worked 8 till 4, Monday to Thursday, and 8 till 12 on a Friday. So I was picking up my kids reasonably early from preschool and nursery, home, dinner, no stress. I was in an office job at that point with the kids. My husband, yes, he was away a lot, but ultimately it was quite flexible. And I was going from that, and with a 10-minute commute, to the corporate world of Amazon, with my commute going up to an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 40 door to door. Still really young kids. They were only 3 and 4 at the time. And I had no idea if I was walking away from like what I was walking into, really. Would it be as flexible, like you hear, like the stories that you read on the internet about corporate life and the work-life balance being awful and all those things was really scary. But ultimately, I wanted a career. It wasn't happening for me in the military. I had to look elsewhere. I'm quite ambitious, quite driven. But also lacked any particular skill set in reality. I mean, I had lots of transferable skills. I'd learned a lot in the military about getting stuff done, about moving the needle, about implementing changes and managing people, but I didn't have a specific skill set that you could hang your hat on either. Amazon is a very pro-military employer. And they did sort of take, I guess, a bit of a risk to bring me into a recruitment role with 0 recruitment experience. And it was fabulous. Like I got there and my manager was just like, do whatever you need to do. If you've got things to do with your kids, then that's fine. It was very much a very mature, as long as the work is done to a good standard, we're quite happy to be flexible. And I sort of breathed a sigh of relief, like, so that was sort of that transition, which was quite stressful. I had to get an au pair. It was quite an expensive time, like lots of outgoings, the train fare, the au pair, the nursery costs, just my entire wages flying out the door. But it was a long-term plan I had. I was thinking long-term. And luckily now, you know, a few years later, I've moved jobs at Amazon. I've been promoted very luckily. The kids are now in school, and I feel that that sacrifice was worth it in the end. I did sacrifice a bit of work-life balance in the beginning because of the commute, but I got it back in different ways in the sort of long-term planning. And now obviously working from home, doing the school run. I'm taking the kids to cricket tonight down at the local community centre. So I feel like I've almost got there, you know. I'm sure something will come along to throw a spanner in the works, but at the moment, I feel like we're almost cracking it. But that's me, and I'm entirely grateful that I've ended up where I've ended up. Great support network around me from work and personal life, but it's been moments, ups and downs for sure, and challenging.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to this fabulous 40 coming up. Because to me, you're fabulous anyway. So you're going to be more fabulous. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do. And Pauline, I'm sorry I threw you in the deep end there just for a second, because I completely lost my train of script and thought. But I wanted to ask you, you've built this absolutely hugely successful business. How did you get your start? And what made you consider and ultimately choose business ownership? You know, tell us about your journey and motivation.
Well, yes. So, I mean, how we got our start really was when we first had the idea to conception of actually bringing the first product to market, which was our original balm, was 2 years in the making. And sort of in that 2 years, again, I kind of came from like a hairdressing background to begin with, but then I was also in the corporate world because I ended up working for the corporate brand of Weller Professionals. So, and again, this was sort of, you know, early noughties, so there wasn't any Zooms or any sort of working from home availability at all, as you know, I've seen sort of with Gemma's story as well. And so, you know, there wasn't a lot of support when I wanted to start a family at all. So, you know, so when I started, sorry, I've confused this all. I've started out to the question, but if I start from the journey, then that will sort of get me to the start. So when I became pregnant with our first child, then and I was still trying to do the commute, you know, into central London, do the 9 to 5, you know, which was actually the one opening and the one sort of closing up. So I was actually doing a lot more hours than that. Then, you know, trying to get time off was really difficult. And I was literally putting in my daughter into daycare. I was dropping her off at 7 a.m. and sometimes racing home to try and pick her up at 6. You know, and sometimes, like, you know, traffic pending, if I physically could not get her at 6 p.m, I'd have to call up Johnny or call up somebody else to go, could somebody please go and pick up my daughter, you know, because she's there, you know, in daycare. And we soon learned that this really wasn't the lifestyle for us. And I absolutely loved my job, absolutely loved my career, but it just wasn't feasible. So that's when, you know, sort of me and Johnny sort of sat down and thought about things and sort of where our skills were really. And we knew we always wanted to bring a product to market, but didn't quite know how. Then, you know, we had the idea of these paw balms because they were the one thing that actually really helped soothe our daughter's eczema, because she got eczema as a baby. We tried everything on shelf. The doctors were then recommending steroid cream, and we didn't really want to put that on a 9-month-old baby. We wanted to go down the more natural route. So from that idea of, okay, let's try and launch our own brand, it was 2 years to the making. And then by the time we launched, you know, we sent this out, you know, again, my husband was in PR and marketing, so he was really good at sending it out to all the buyers and everything like that. And then we actually got the first call back, which thankfully was Harvey Nichols, who wanted to launch us exclusively. And we did have to go down and pitch, which is, if anybody's watched Dragon's Den, that's exactly what it's like when you pitch your brand or your product to buyers. It's a panel, you're there, you get all the questions, you know, and you just have to try and answer them, you know, and basically pitch and sell your brand. So it took that one person really to believe in us and to launch that one product that, again, can just say, literally then snowballed. You know, we were on the market, you know, then other people started looking, we had proof of sales, and then from that we did international shows and grew internationally, and it literally was a snowball effect. We brought out more products, We've obviously added to the team because at the start, it was literally me working from home on maternity leave with our second child, by the way, because in that 2 years I got pregnant. And I was obviously pretending I had a team behind me, because back then, working from home with a baby and a 4-year-old, would not have been as widely accepted as it is now. So I didn't used to take calls. I just used to email and sort of pretend that I was, well, not pretend, but just say that I was too busy for a call, and can we just keep it all on emails. So I first did it like that. But coming from a hairdressing background, I taught myself everything I did. I have got no business degree. I didn't go to university. I didn't even get the chance to finish high school because my parents went through a very messy divorce. But the thing, so I didn't know what I wanted to do, when I first, sort of started out in the workforce, but I knew I wanted to be successful at something. And I think that's what took me from not even finishing high school to where I am now.
Such an amazing journey. I mean, honestly, juggling, being an entrepreneur and having 2 small children, a baby, 2 babies as well, amazingly brilliant how you've managed to succeed. Uli, a similar question to you. You've recently joined the Amazon DSP program. What led you to that decision, and what has the journey been like for you? What motivates you?
Right, so I have a very completely different story to Pauline. I've got no kids, so I've always worked a lot. My dad is originally Italian, so he always said, we were living in Brazil. I said, we need to go back to Europe because things are much better. And we're like, okay, let's go. So when I first came to the UK, I'm like, okay, what can I do that doesn't require a lot of talking, because my English was very poor. And all the English I've learned when I got to the UK, I'm like, oh my God, I can talk, but I don't understand what they say. The British, I think we underestimated the British accent a lot. So I started my journey just delivering parcels. I love my job because I always love traveling. Very similar to Gemma, but very different story, because for me, the traveling was my passion. I've always loved it. And then from there, I've progressed into office work by helping out, controlling drivers. And then I've joined Amazon through another business that I was working for. And then the DSP program came along. And I think not here to say, oh, Amazon is amazing, but it is. Amazon gave me the opportunity to be what I wanted to be and to be where I am. And for me, it's again, I don't want to sound like, oh my God, Amazon. But the reality is Amazon gave me the opportunity to do and the support that I needed to be where I am now. I mean, I can, like we've discussed, like Pauline had a very hectic lifestyle. So did I through work. But now I've learned, being my own, having my own business, I've learned, okay, my business is running, everyone came to work, my customers are getting their parcels, everything is set, so I can go get my hair done, get my nails done. You get there, Gemma. I'm over 40, so I need it.
Same, I'm over 40.
Yeah, and me,
There you go. You will find that balance. I'm pretty sure you will get there. You just do it, because I feel like there's no, I'm going to be 30, so I'm getting old. Nah, I feel fabulous. I feel like I'm having the best time of my life. And again, going back to Amazon gave me that. The program supports you in everything that you need. Amazon aligns everything that you're going to need. So the way they've developed the program, any woman with children or not children, anyone that has the entrepreneurial skills, and like Gemma said, there's so much opportunity in the logistics industry. Anyone that have that, I can do that, you can do that. Amazon will help you to do that.
Uli, you fired me up. I'm leaving Every Woman now and I'm joining the DSP scheme.
Do it. No, don't do it, because Every Woman's really good too. And we wouldn't be here.
I'll stay. So Gemma, let me come to you. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you've come across when it comes to this work-life integration? How have you managed to juggle your professional and personal life?
Yeah, and I think there was a couple of questions in the Q&A around this as well, especially around managing customers and clients when you've got other things you need to do as well. And I think for me, my experience when I worked in talent acquisition was probably when I didn't do this very well. So this was a real failure on my part, and it wasn't necessarily my line management. They were super supportive, but the military recruitment scheme I was working on for the UK just took off, and it just scaled so quickly that none of us really were ready for that. And so I had 60 to 80 LinkedIn messages every week from candidates or potential candidates. I was averaging 25 to 30 phone interviews a week for potential candidates, as well as all the business related activity I had to do to stay on top of current vacancies. I was running events all over the place, and I wasn't in a good space, if I'm honest. It was absolutely nuts. I was taking it home with me every night. I was working on the weekends, and I didn't feel happy. I mean, in the end, we grew the team and we did bring in more people, but that takes time. Like for example, to find a German speaker for the military recruitment team in Germany, it took us 9 months to recruit somebody because it's a bespoke role we were looking for. And that's the nature of recruitment as well, right? And so it took time to grow the team. And it was a really stressful time in my life. And what I've learned from it is that it's okay to say no, even to customers if you need to, even to clients. They need, I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, and some people in the event might be going, ooh, but ultimately, I have to preserve my own mental health and my own sanity. And if a customer wants me to be on a call at 7 o'clock in the morning, I can't do that, right? I can't do that. I've got kids to get ready for school. It's not going to happen, especially if my husband's not here. I might be able to make it work if there's both of us, but ultimately, I'm not going to put myself in a position where anything's detrimental to me. And that's what I learned from that time in talent acquisition. So now in my new role, unless I've got an urgent problem or I have something I've got to do, I try to clock off by 6:30. I try to keep my evenings separate. I block out time. If a customer or an external logger like Seema, if you say to me, can we do a call at this time? If I can, I will. But if I can't, I'll say, no, that doesn't work for me. Can we do it at X time? And I do that with all of my partners. And I would expect them to do the same with me. I don't expect anybody to be going out of their way to put themselves in, in stressful positions just so they can have a phone conversation or a chime or a Zoom or a Teams with me. And so that's the way I approach it now. And I'm quite rigid. I go for a run at lunchtime, and the world's not going to stop turning. My job's still going to be there. And so far, my manager seems fine with all of that. So far, so good. And that's what I learned. I really wasn't in a good space by taking everything on, saying yes to everything, working really late. It wasn't a good space, and I don't intend to go back into that into that sort of way of working. And I think you've got to take ownership. I'm a strong believer that you have, to a certain extent. I know it's difficult in certain work situations, especially if you're like NHS, you're a doctor, you're in those sort of more high tempo roles. But we do where we can. We need to take ownership of our own diaries, of our own work schedules, and have the confidence to say, actually, I need to do this at that time. So can we rearrange this for tomorrow? And that's what I tend to do now, and I'm a lot more confident in doing so.
And I think, having those boundaries is so important when you want to, go from one quadrant to the other, as you were talking about earlier. Pauline, Uli, did you have any other thoughts around that? For example, how do you field, important client meetings when they're clashing with personal things?
Well, yeah, I mean, I totally agree with sort of Gemma on that. Like, you really do have to prioritize and ask for help if you can, again, because we have customers all over the world. We know that America doesn't wake up till the afternoon. So, sometimes me or Johnny have to do like the afternoon calls, but then the Far East, they always want the morning ones because our 9 o'clock is like their 5 o'clock. So they're almost staying back late to do us. But yeah, it definitely has to be prioritized, because I can't be on a call from 8 o'clock in the morning and then still doing 7 o'clock at night calls, because I would just burn out. My kids wouldn't see me. I'd be stressed if I was trying to do a call, like you said, at 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to get the kids ready or not. But even if you don't have kids, trying to do everything for everyone isn't going to work. So you either choose your day, right? This is the day that I'm going to do my Far East calls. So you try and, stagger them up. So 7, 8, 9, get them all in, and then again, maybe like you said, do something in the afternoon, finish early, pick up the kids from school, pay yourself back. But then the next day when you need to speak to America, then I will be like, right, I'm going to come into the office at 10, but I'm going to stay till 7, you know, and do it that way so that I'm there talking to it. So, and that is, we are so lucky in the world that we are now with 24/7, that communication. So absolutely, it's not worth trying to cram it all into the one day, because you'll just be stressed and you won't be able to give your best.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's
there was a, sorry, just to add one thing, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but there was a company that I was doing something with recently, and I stumbled across their career page, and maybe somebody wants to message me privately, I'll tell them what company it was. And on their career page, one of the things they offered all their employees was 2 mental escape days every month.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, I was scratching my head thinking, that is a most excellent idea. That's going to be on my list of potential future employers. I'm going to write that one down. Because I loved it. Like that idea that you could say, I need a day off. You know, I need to take a day. I've got to get some stuff done. I've got to, you know, go and relax or go or jog, gym, you know, do something. I loved it. And I wish, I don't know how popular that is in the general working world, but I loved it.
In my case, that's the beauty of having your own business, because again, like I said, I don't have kids, but I just know, okay, Tuesdays are normally a quiet day, so I know I can book my hair, book my nails, because not a lot is going to happen. And even though we are a 7-day operation, and I still meet the customers' requirements and demands. If they want to talk to me at 7, 8, 9 in the evening, I can. It's different. But then I just know, okay, I've worked until 9, 10 o'clock. So tomorrow morning I'm gonna have a lay-in, and I'm just gonna read a book until midday, and then I'll start. And I think it's very important that you always focus in clearing your mind and doing something for yourself, because the fast pace that we work and everything, like Pauline said, everything is 24/7 these days. There's WhatsApp, there's emails, there's Zoom, there's this. If you don't find that balance, you will find yourself working 24 hours a day. So you need to take the time for yourself, do your own things, leave whatever's not important for the next day, and just learning what's important, what makes your business run. Your business is running, your customers are getting what they need. That's it. You can chill, sit back, relax, and whatever is not important, the next day.
Yeah, exactly. The world is not going to stop turning. I mean, Pauline.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Pauline, tell me, what impact can a great work-life integration have on your own personal well-being? You know, you're in that whole space. How can it really help you?
Well, I think it just makes you happy, and it makes your team happy. Again, you know, we've got a dynamic team of 15 women, and we've got a couple of boys, bless them, just a couple, but they're all at different stages of their lives. Do you know what I mean? Some are young and single, some are mums, you know, and sort of older, and so they're trying to juggle that. So everybody's, say, like, timetable really is built around them. You know, and it's one of the things, again, which is the reason I started the company. So when we employed the mums, especially, we're like, do you know what? If you have a school play to go to, you put that in, you know, and then, you know, you could just give us half an hour here or half an hour there, or absolutely work around. You know, again, even, you know, with the younger girls, like when we're taking them away to do a show, like, you know, like in Bologna or something like that, we're like, absolutely, if you need the afternoon, you know, to do something, to, you know, to get sorted, you know, you can do. We really are, you know, just trying to be aware of everybody's stage in their life, you know, with or without kids. And what you'll find by giving them that time is not, I would say, like abusers of it, or people who'll take the piss out of it. They actually give you more. Like, you know, some people, they'll go home and go, oh, well, you know, I didn't get time to do this email because I had to, you know, my kid was sick and whatever. But I got on when they were at bed at night at 8 o'clock, and you'll see them then sending the emails that they caught up on. And we haven't even asked them to do that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Or again, you know, other people, if they've had to leave early for a dentist appointment, or they've had a hospital appointment, whatever, again, you know, like I said, everyone's got different issues and everything like that. Again, without asking them, you'll find them logging on later that night going, oh, I missed this, but I'm just going to catch up on it now. Yeah. And all I could do is say thank you. And it really does, you know, make everybody happy. So if you think about how you want to be treated, and you treat them, it really can breed a happy team, but also a happy life for you as well.
Absolutely. I think what we'll do, for Shan, Nicole, let's have a look at the polls and see what everyone said, because I'm sure that's going to spark quite a lot of interest. So the challenges around effective work-life integration. So lack of support, 23%, lack of planning. We've all heard planning so important, 29%. Fear of underperforming. Now that is a big fear, especially, you know, I see in the comments, you know, with women especially, you know, if they're the only director in the team of directors and the rest are men, you know, Uli, I'm going to come to you about that. What can they do? 24/7 culture, which is true these days with the global businesses, it really is. And that's where, Gemma, you know, your pointers there are so important about boundaries. Being a perfectionist, 48%, flexibility, 19%, not living in the moment, 26%. So Uli, have a look at those results. Tell me what your thoughts are about the fear of underperforming, which is the biggest one there.
Yeah, the first one that came to my head, fear of underperforming, because I had that fear. I always thought, well, being an employee, you always have the business owner to direct you and to tell you, okay, this is what you're going to do. So if, let's say, something goes wrong, it's fine because it really wasn't your idea or it didn't came from you. But I generally believe, I did say in an interview that I've done to Anna for Every Woman, one of my biggest things that I've got with me is like, fear nothing or no one, because all you need to do is ask. There's always people available. I know that the lack of support came into place as well, but in my case, I've been very lucky. I don't know, I'm hardworking. Obviously, you need to be a hardworking person. We all here talking like, okay, I do this, I do that. And I don't want people to have the impression that, these girls, you know, they just go there, take their time off. It's not the case. I generally believe that, like Pauline said, when you have the freedom to have your own time, you do work a lot more than you realize. And your people, the staff, when you treat them well, and you give them the freedom, they will always back you up. They'll go the extra mile because you gave them that freedom. My team is exactly the same. They'll reply to me 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. If something comes up, a breakdown or an emergency, everybody will come live to come together. So I think fear is obviously people's worst enemy, but I don't think people should have, just open your minds. You know, it's one of the things that we discussed previously. Having your own business, and it means that you have to be available 24/7 for your business, but if you were working for someone else, you would also have to be available. The difference is, I think, when we think about, oh my God, I need to be available, that doesn't mean you're working 24/7. It means that you're available for response, for an action, but the working hours, you do them yourself.
Yeah.
The underperforming part, it will just, like in my case, with the support of Amazon, there's always someone to hold your hand. I'm in a male-dominated industry, and I never felt like I was worse than anyone, or okay, I worked for it, I've proved myself, but I never felt like, oh, these are men, what are they going to think of me? Nah, these are men, and I'm going to show them I'm better than them. I can do better because I can.
Don't mess with
women are just more organized and they can multitask. I'm pretty sure every woman in this call, like, it's on the phone, is typing a message, is grabbing something for their children, and we can. Men can't.
And so the exciting thing that I'm hearing here, Pauline, you know, coming to you, is that you can be an entrepreneur and you can have that life balance, that integration. Is that what you're finding with these boundaries? Can entrepreneurs have that balance?
Yes, absolutely. Because, you know, again, the reason why, you know, I went into this is because I wanted choices. I wanted that freedom, you know, that we've all spoken about, you know, And so I do think you can. I mean, one of my choices after having to do that daycare scenario was I really wanted to pick up the kids. You know, sometimes I can't, you know, like, you know, today it's going to be in the middle of pickup times, you know, my husband's going to do it. So, you know, we've organized that every week. We kind of try and organize that. But I really wanted to be able to do that. So I come into the office, I work till about 2:30. I go and pick up the kids. I bring them home, do their homework, you know, feed them dinner. And then as they're starting to settle down, you know, by like 8, 9 o'clock, then I will go back onto my emails, you know, and have a look at, say, what I missed for that later part of the day. And I do always excuse myself with my team because I'm like, look, you might get an email at 10 o'clock at night. I don't expect you to answer it at 10 o'clock at night. It's just, that's my time. And you can just answer it the next day. So I make sure they all put their phones on silent, or like, you know, they've got work phones now, actually, to be fair, they've got work phones now. So I'm like, yeah, don't go to bed with your work phone because you might have me pinging, you know, all hours. But it's that choice, isn't it? It's just, and I think being an entrepreneur and having, like we've said, you know, having your own business through Amazon, and that you can choose your hours and you can make them up. And just to point on that fear of underperforming, because I never thought that I could do this, especially from a hairdressing background. But I've taught myself everything. And all you have to do is learn about it, like either, you know, Google it online, or like Yuri said, there, you know, you can ask somebody at Amazon as well. Don't be scared to ask if you don't understand something, even if it's like, I want to know how to do this, where can I find the information? Or I'm worried about this aspect, where can I, you know, get that learning from? Because honestly, there's so much out there, and you can, if you can read it and learn yourself, honestly, that will help you with that fear of underperforming. The only time you're scared is when you don't know.
Yeah, great tip. I love that. I mean, we're rapidly running out of time, which is, I mean, I don't know where the time's gone, because I could carry on talking to you for ages yet. But, you know, so one of the things that I've learned in my past, I was an entrepreneur, you know, during corporate life as well, is that I've stopped being such a perfectionist. I've had to, because I used to be such a perfectionist. And now if the housework doesn't get done, or if I can't farm it out to someone else to do it, you know, the world is not going to stop turning. What are your top tips before we finish up?
There's a great saying in this. It's like, a job half done is better than a job not done. And I am a perfectionist. So I'm one of them people. I'm one of them people that I feel like I'm going to do this because I'm better than everybody. And if I ask for them to do this, they're not going to get it done properly. But at the end of the day, it's either they half or you do it all. So you just need to learn that balance. Obviously, I'm not saying leave it all, do a poor job. That's not what I'm saying. But, you know, allow people to develop with you. And like Pauline said, always ask. There's always someone that will have more knowledge. And there are great people out there willing to help, always.
Yeah, absolutely. Gemma, what is your top tip there?
So I think mine's a bit like yours, Seema. I try to not let the little things become a problem. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a cleaner. I am, and I recognise that it's not practical for everybody or affordable. But I don't prioritise housework. Like, I barely touch the vacuum cleaner. I don't iron. I iron the kids' t-shirts at 10 to 8 in the morning for school that day. We don't cook from scratch. We're not. We try to be healthy, but I take shortcuts with that as well where I can. I try to prioritize what's important. I don't want to spend my weekends. My mother goes crazy when she visits. I never do a Sunday lunch, and she loves Sunday lunch. But I prioritize the time with the family, that we do things together, that I don't want to spend my Saturday and Sunday cleaning or cooking, quite frankly. I mean, if there's something I want to cook nicely, then obviously I will just try it. But I want to prioritize those things. So I do tend to not be overly worried about the state of the house, whether the kids are eating chicken nuggets for the 5th time that week, you know, whether or not the car's messy or dirty. I don't. And I mean, and I said this when we were having a sort of practice run, I also did happen to marry a really great guy that takes on like 70% of all of the housework and whatnot. So I think it's about trying to get, if you're in a partnership with another person, then it's about trying to find that balance between the two of you as well. I think that can be tricky, but I think it can be, hopefully it can be done and other people can experience that as well. But yeah, so just
thank you. Pauline, we literally have got 30 seconds, a minute left. A top tip.
I would say be kind, work hard, believe in yourself, because you can honestly do anything if you put your mind to it. Is that all right?
Amazing, fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. So insightful, wonderful to hear a bit more about your journeys and how you're managing this integration, and some great takeaways. Thank you. So this webinar, as everyone knows, was created in partnership with Amazon DSP, and do get in contact if you're interested in hearing more about their fantastic program, using the link that we'll send you after the webinar. And that just leaves me all to say thank you very much, and hopefully balance is in our future. Thank you.